Chairman, you're back live streaming.
I think. Are there any declarations of interest that need to be recorded? No, right, we'll follow on then. During the proceeding, the applicant and any persons wishing to speak will be given 15 minutes. The interested parties, you have 15 minutes between you to make your submissions. And that includes any cross-examinations you have of any witnesses. At the end of the hearing, the applicant will be given and the interested party will be given 2 minutes to make a closing speech. So can we start with our licensing officer?
Apologies, Chairman. We have to ask, because of the technical problems earlier, ask Amber to introduce herself and whether she has any.
Right, okay, sorry, yes.
Hello, my name's Amber Whiting. I live at 290 Little Wakering and in the village.
Right, okay, thank you. Okay. Can we carry on now with the licensing officer?
Chairman, yes, you can carry on with the agenda.
Thank you.
Good morning. This is an application in relation to a premises licence made under Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003. The application must be determined in 5 working days of the conclusion of the hearing in accordance with paragraph 26 of the Licensing Act Hearings Regulations of 2005. The application was submitted to the licensing authority by Paula Causa and refers to the premises to be known as Hops Off Licence, 68 Little Wakering Road in Little Wakering, Essex, SS3 OJH. And Appendix A is a copy of the original application that was submitted. The premises to which the application relates comprise of retail premises with the intention to operate as an off licence. The premises is located within a small parade of shops, and that was included a map of Appendix B outlines the location. The application is for licensable activities within the times and dates, which is the supply and sale of alcohol off the premises only. And this is between Monday and Sunday between 11 AM and 11 PM. The application was made in accordance with Section 17 of paragraph 7 of the Licensing Act and the Licensing Act 2003 regulations of 2005. The only other licensed premises within close proximity of the applicant is the Castle Inn public house, which I have included within the report. In relation to representations, under the responsible authorities, the police have confirmed that they've made no representation against the application, but have agreed conditions with the applicant. And a copy of those conditions are attached as Appendix D in the document. The application was assessed by Environmental Health, and they have made no representations against the application. In relation to other persons, there was 14 representations received from local residents. 6 of those did not constitute as a valid representation, as these did not relate to the licensing objectives as outlined within the Licensing Act 2003. Out of the 8 objections that were valid, they made representations against the prevention of public nuisance and the prevention of crime and disorder objectives. And Appendix E was a copy of their relevant representations. In relation to notices, all parties involved have been served with the relevant notices and documentation required by paragraph 6 and 7 of the Licensing Act Hearings Regulations of 2005. I'm going to jump to the point 8 of the report. It is proposed that the subcommittee resolves that the application be determined according to one of the following options: to grant the application subject to such conditions that are consistent with the operating schedule, modified to such extent as members consider necessary for the promotion of the licensing objectives, and any mandatory conditions must be included. Or to exclude from the scope of the license any licensable activities to which the application relates, to reject the application, or finally, subject to paragraphs 11 to 13 of the Licensing Act 2003 Hearings Regulations 2005, to adjourn the hearing to a specified date or arrange for a hearing to be held on specific additional dates where members may consider it necessary for the consideration of any representations or notice made by any party. And that's the end of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Greener. Right, have the subcommittee got any questions to ask from Mr. Greener?
There are no hands up, Chairman.
Thank you. And has any other parties got any clarification they need from Mr. Greener? I can't see anybody, so I shall
Again,
pass.
Chairman, there's no hands up.
No. I shall pass on then to the applicant if she can make her submission, please. Paula Causa.
I don't really understand what did you want me to say? Sorry.
Well, it's obviously you're making this application. The reason, you know, what you wish to tell us why you're making the application and what have you in the application.
Okay. At the moment, I have a small sandwich bar cafe in the shop that I want to change usage to a off license. Because of not a limited footfall there, I've not made any money. It's an A1 license, so there's a limited also what you can put in to the shop. There's been a beauty parlour, florist, pet shop, electrical shop, travel agent. A few of my customers, local customers, suggested the off license as there isn't any in Little Wakering, which I thought was a good idea. Also, there's nowhere in Little Wakering or Barling that sells off premises alcohol. Yes, that's probably, that's the reason I wanted to do an off license. Just a few locals had sort of suggested it to me, and also to make a living. I've tried, there's a lot of shops that have been there that's failed, including mine, and that's it. I just want to do a small off license to sell off premises alcohol. I probably won't do it 11 to 11. That was the range of hours that I proposed.
Okay, right. Thank you. Well, what I'll do, I'll ask any of the subcommittee if they've got any questions they'd like to ask at the moment.
Okay. Shall I mute?
Councillor Gooding, Chairman.
Yeah. Okay, James.
Yeah. Good morning, Paula. My question to you is, if you're making this change, what have you got in place for staff training, etc., to deal with the sale of alcohol? I mean, it is, it's, when I say not a normal sale, it is different to probably what you've been selling. What ideas have you got in plan for your staff to identify potential problems, potential hazards, and how would you intend to deal with that?
Paula, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I'll be the only person working there. If at any time I do want to employ anyone, I would probably ask them to do their licence course as well. I have a Highfield level 2 for underage sales prevention. So I'm aware of Challenge 25. I've got lots of things. Security, I'm going to have CCTV, security lights, motion sensors. I've been asked by the police to have 1 month video record on the CCTV. I also live opposite the shop, which I also have CCTV on my house, which all 4 shops are in clear view. And also it be in my view 24 hours a day, the shop. So it's sort of extra security there. I'm thinking of having shutters put on the shop. There's only one entrance at the front of the shop. There is no back entrances or windows at the rear of the shop or the side of the shop. So the only entrance is in view of the road and my home address. I've been asked by the police to record any sale refusals, any crime or disorder, any faulty CCTV. I won't be selling to intoxicated people. I'm going to have challenge 25 signs up at the shop, under 18 signs up at the shop. Around the shop, there's no public areas in close vicinity. There's no benches. There's really nowhere for anyone to hang out. Not only that, there is no reason for anyone to hang out. There's no clubs or bars. As you know, there's the castle, which is like 5 minutes walk, a couple of minutes walk down the road. Well, there's loads. To keep it clean, there's a bin outside the shop. There's a bin opposite the shop. There's a bin at Havenside, the next road down.
Can I stop you there? I think that we've clarified.
I think you've covered most things there, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, there's also, I know a lot of people were worried about cars, but I think that there'd be a lot less traffic because I'd be walking distance to all the locals around Little Wakering. There'd be no reason for them to get in the car to drive to the co-op because they can walk there, which is more economical for people and just easier. Sorry about the dog.
Ask any of the interested parties if they've got any questions, but they must be for clarification purposes only.
We have Ms. Whiting's hand up, Chairman.
Right.
Sorry, Paula, could you mute your...
Hang on, can I just close the door?
If you can mute your microphone.
Wait 2 seconds.
Right.
So my raised hand was in regards to a concern rather than a clarification. Sorry about that. I didn't hear.
Okay, well, we'll bring that up when we go through your submissions. Does anybody else? No, right, okay. We've got no authority submissions. So interested parties, as I say, you've got 15 minutes in total. So have you decided to...
Can we have a clarification?
Sorry, there was
sorry.
clarification.
Sorry. You said you know.
Oh yeah. Do you mean I couldn't hear what your last few sentences because of the dog barking?
What did you ask about?
Councillor Phil Shaw.
Well, my last two, I haven't got a clue now. About cars, I propose there be less car traffic because of being local. People won't have to drive to the co-op or to Nick's the Premier. That it being close proximity to Little Wakering. So yeah, I think there'd be less car traffic, less traffic on the road.
So can I ask a question or concern about that?
Yeah.
So obviously in the evening, cars are parked outside the front of the shop. This is probably one for the council as much as you. and people will drive to pick up stuff from an off license, obviously. We have been in touch with the council before, because what people tend to do is use the widened pathway to the front of the shops to cruise across to the shop fronts, which runs directly on the pavement. So people basically drive along the pavement to go through a gap that exists because of a white line outside our house to get to the shops. We have been in touch with the council before about putting a bollard out to prevent that, because we feel that it's a health and safety issue.
Well, we'll come to that as we go through the application. Right. So as I say, yourselves.
Sorry, one more thing. I also don't feel I also don't like the idea that Paula is videoing me on the other side of the parade from that.
Can we bring that up? You've got your submission now. We can bring anything you've got there, and then we can go through it. And as I say, you've got 15 minutes between yourselves and Amber. So I don't know who wants to go first. We'll see you on. If you go first, and then
carry on.
Yeah.
I'll give you notice when we're nearer the time. I'll give you a minute before the end.
Yeah, so our main concerns about the application are opening hours. Paul, you're not quite sure when you're going to open, but we feel that it's a rural location. There's residential above you, there's a residential beside you, and there's residential, obviously us. We used to be a shop. We didn't convert the shops ourselves. It was converted and given planning permission by the council 5 years before we bought the house. But being in the connected parade, obviously sound does travel up and down the facade. We can hear roller shutters opening. We hear, for instance, the council arrived this morning to empty a bin which is close to the location, and they regularly leave the van running whilst they do that. In fact, they were there for 5 or 6 minutes this morning, having telephone calls outside the refuse van, and all the time the engine's running. So obviously we're woken 6 in the morning, generally speaking, because papers are delivered to another premises in the parade. There's refuse being collected. Like I say, we also have concerns because it's quite a wide pavement to the front of the shops, and people do use it as a kind of a launch area if there's cars parked in the road in front of the parade. And so people generally just speed along the pavement to get to the front of the shops, which is another concern.
Can I just go back to the noise as well quickly? Because we bought the house next to the shops. We like the shops, we use the shops. My son goes and was when it was open, stuff from Paula. It's just, we're used to it being open at a certain time and then shut in the evenings. We're very concerned about it being open in later into the evenings, slamming doors, people talking, shouting. You know, it is a quiet rural road. There is hardly any lighting out there, really.
There's no street lighting close to the shops at all. If you were to go out there of an evening, it is pitch black. So another concern of ours is like the light pollution.
And will there be an illuminated fascia? Because from what we know, there won't be allowed to be one. So the shop's going to be in darkness at night, apart from the light on in the shop. It just seems that it's not appropriate in this quiet rural location to have a shop open until 11 p.m. And I know Paula says she might not, but she might move on and sell her business, and someone else might come in and open it to 11. We just don't want that precedent set, and for our peaceful life to be, you know, almost 24/7, so to speak. It's not that we don't want the shops there, because we do. It's just the times.
We've also got other concerns. We've been woken at night on several occasions. Number 64 next door was broken into. The doors were smashed open. and the till was burgled. The shop next door, but one, which is 60, it's 64A, because it used to be an alleyway through to the back of the shops, but then was filled in and made into a shop. That was broken into, and cigarettes, etc., stolen. The village store has also had an attempted break-in to the rear, which was ineffectual because there's a roller shutter behind there, we believe. So yeah, there's been various occasions when crime has definitely taken place in the parade, which is namely, you know, due to trying to steal cigarettes, trying to get cash out of tills, etc. So I'm not sure if the police have mentioned any of this in any of their reports or concerns. Will the shop, for instance, have a roller shutter on it to prevent us being woken up in the middle of the night by windows being smashed, etc.? Because it's the original 30s or 40s shop front is still in situ, plate glass windows, etc. Is there going to be any protection to prevent burglaries in the store other than just capturing what's going to happen on CCTV? It was publicised on social media recently that the co-op was in Wakering Village was actually ram raided. So you know, there is crime in the area, and the crime just does seem to be directed at cigarettes, alcohol, these kind of things. But we would like the clarification of the opening hours, especially.
And could I just say as well, with regards to selling cheap alcohol, there's, as Paula said earlier, people would come and buy it there because then they wouldn't have to go to the co-op. Is she going to be able to really compete and offer prices that the co-op and Asda and other places are going to be? Are people really going to want to stop and buy alcohol there? And
we also believe that although there's no benches in the available area, people do, you know, crowd around the shops, and they have done in the past. You know, late into the
1 minute.
Thank you. Late into the evening. So, does Amber want to say something?
We've got 1 minute. Amber's got time after.
Okay. Yeah. So people do crowd around those shops, and there's also bins outside the shops. One bin, but it doesn't prevent people who use the shops at the moment consuming their goods and then throwing their litter into our front garden, which can have drink bottles, crisp packets, all kinds of consumables that
the bins aren't big enough really. Also security lights that Paula talks about having, security lights going on and off all the time, all through the night. Yeah, I know it helps with security, but there's people that live around here. Do we really want security lights going on and off on the shop front? The woman opposite has complained several times about the security lights going off in the past. So, you know,
our direct neighbour, yes.
Right, can I ask Amber now for her submission, please?
Hi there. So seconding quite a few of those points, and also some others of my own. The forecourt in the front of the parade of shops does have some congregations sometimes, especially when it's functioning as a cafe, but that has been, you know, it's nice to see. It's nice it's been used in that way when it was a cafe. I am just worried about crowd control and the fact that I know that when I walk near the co-op, which is the closest venue I can think of to compare this to, I have been very intimidated because there will be groups of people, especially kind of on bikes and quite loud, kids outside the front of the co-op who have obviously just purchased alcohol or fizzy drinks, things like that. And I am very worried that a similar kind of congregation will happen on that forecourt out the front. It is a very accessible area for that kind of thing. I think it will definitely be used in that way. and part of that is part of a different shop, which will probably also be impacted by that. I am also worried about the opening hours. I think something perhaps 11 till 5 or 11 till 6 being set as what is allowed would be a lot more appropriate given the residential area, and also given the fact that I know that a lot of the people who were saying that they wanted to use the place as an off license and for alcohol were more about the lunchtime, having a beer at lunch, and things like that, where it's sunnier weather. And I think that could be lovely to have that, but definitely more targeting the lunchtime. The Castle are also there though, which is a pub with license to sell alcohol, and they have very, very effective crowd control. They will bar people and ban people who have been problematic or difficult. It's a very safe environment because of that, and I'm worried that the same measures won't be able to be taken because it's not technically kind of on site, which is good, but they will still use it as such, the people that are purchasing from there. I also frequently go by bus at night time, and I have to get a number 8, which means I stop off at the Little Wakering, Great Wakering corner, and then I walk down past the parade and I go down to my house, 290 Little Wakering. And when it comes to passing the pub, I usually am a little bit worried, but normally it's okay because I know that the people there are, like I say, very good at crowd control, and they've sorted out any altercations very quickly, and I haven't felt too threatened. When it comes to the parade, to think that if it could turn out like the Co-op, which I think is very likely with that forecourt, I would be extremely intimidated. It's quite a long walk and it is dark, and it is my only option if I need to go into town later for any kind of improv groups or social events, or even working late. That would definitely be of concern. When it comes to the security light, there has been altercations outside before, which I know have caused significant kind of stress to certain local residents, and I think that is again a very valid point. So they are my main concerns. I think that the smashed windows and everything is very likely. I am also, just as a very brief side note, a little worried about what would be used to supplement the sale of the alcohol, such as confectionery, which is very similar to the direct neighbouring business. So if some type of agreement could be come to there, then I feel like we'd have a lot better chance of both businesses surviving, with the alcohol being there for lunch times and how lovely that would be, but also with it mutually working for the local area, without the sale of similar confectionery items to the parade. That's all I can think of at the moment, but I'm sure there's something else, so if you wouldn't mind just giving me a moment. Just having maybe 8:30 latest, I don't know, but just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, any members of the committee, any questions they'd like to get clarification on, please?
Chair.
Yes.
Paula.
No, it's to the applicant, to the.
Oh, sorry.
For the interested
I'll
parties.
come back to that.
Right. Okay. Paula, have you any questions? Quick questions you want to ask? Clarification.
I'd like to say with the security lights.
Yeah,
Paula,
sorry, Paula, that's a statement, not a question for clarification.
Oh no, I've got no questions then.
All right, thank you. Okay, now I will give each of the parties 2 minutes to make a closing statement. So, Paula, would you like to start?
I'd just like to say that I am definitely thinking of putting roller shutters on the shop, most likely will. With the concern of the lights, the security lights, I will have it facing down, not towards the opposite houses. Obviously, I live opposite as well, so I've got kids at home. What else? Yeah, the Amber was saying, because her mum works in the shop next door, about just selling alcohol in the afternoon. I just thought if I sold later, then her mum and Stan's shop have got different times, so it sort of even itself out, because she's worried about me taking their customers. If I opened later, I wouldn't be taking their customers because they'd be sharp. Crowd control in the forecourt, that's usually in the morning. I've lived opposite the shop for 14 years. The school buses stop there, so children like secondary school children have to wait for their buses there. Not really seen any crowding in the evening. Also with all the break-ins, I've lived here 14 years. I do remember stands getting broken into. Probably the first year I lived here, or second year I lived here. I've not seen any other crime over at the shop. I think noise is going to happen because we've got another 120 houses being built 50 foot away. So there is it's not going to be so rural anymore. Cars and people are just going to get more in the area. 120 houses, that's 240 plus.
Half a minute to go, Paula.
Or I don't know. Yeah, I don't expect any noise. People would be buying their goods and leaving, going home. There's no reason for them to hang around outside the shop. I think I've covered everything now.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Mr. Chambers or Amber, anything to closing statement?
Hello, I would just say to please consider please consider opening hours to be 11 till 6 to reduce footfall. I would also, to reduce the chance of noise, nuisance and altercations after 6 p.m. I would also say 11 till 6 is not separate hours to the neighbouring business, so that point doesn't feel valid in that way. It would not be mutually beneficial, it wouldn't be symbiotic, unless it was something like 5 till 11 but at night, but then we run into the issues with the residential area. So that is all, I believe. Thank you.
Right.
Mr. and Mrs. Chambers, Chairman.
Thank you. So we just basically, we've lived here 19 years. We will always support the shops. However, we feel that we're not on Hamlet Court Road. We don't want a 7-Eleven here. We don't think it would benefit the community whatsoever. For the handful of people that would decide on the few occasions to go there, it would encourage the people to congregate, older kids to hang around. It would encourage people to possibly try break in. We know a few instances. We live right next door, so we know that there has been trouble, and we just don't want to encourage or risk any of that. Yes, there are houses being built, but we are still the village of Wakering, and we know that up by the co-op you have a president's set, you have the pub opposite, you have the Chinese, the Indian, the chip shop. You expect it there. down here it's very quiet after 6 o'clock at night, and that's how the locals will want it. People will soon be very stressed and upset if we do start getting issues like other places do, where they do have late opening and selling of alcohol. And I don't think the alcohol is going to be able to be sold at the price to actually make it work anyway, but that's irrelevant. But we just want our kids here. We want a peaceful, quiet life. That is all we want. And the shop's opening till 6 p.m. is what it's been like for 19 years. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Right, the subcommittee will now adjourn to deliberate and make a decision. No party has an obligation to wait for the outcome hearing following the adjournment or of proceedings. It should be noted that the decisions will be sent in writing to all parties following the hearing in any instance. If you do wish to come back in when we made the decision, if you let us know, then we can contact you